So we'll go ahead and proceed. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I don't think we have any public comments, so we'll go ahead and go to item 4, and this is an action item, and to approve the financial audit report for year ending September 30th, 2020. Mr. Hernandez?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. What I'd like to do is I'll go over the numbers even though we're at 2020, and then I will happily address your questions just starting.
Okay.
So that being said, let's all go to page 17
This is
on the regular Starr County audit. Yes, sir. The bigger book like that. As you turn to page
17?
17, yes, sir. As you turn to page 17 for the record, the auditor's opinion is unmodified.
Unmodified means good.
Means it's a clean opinion, yes, sir. So 17 is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. So this is your main operating funds here. The first one is the general, you have the road and bridge, then you have all the others. And the reason you have all the others in one column is because the general and road and bridge are considered major. As you go into the back of the report, these others will expand individually. But for today's presentation, I'm going to cover just these two funds. Again, page 17. The first column is the general fund. Total revenues were $17,016,694. Total expenditures were $17,732,919. So this means that your expenditures exceeded revenues by a negative $716,225. Now you had monies coming in as transfers.
Well, I can't follow you. We got
The
the
first column on
total
page
revenues,
17.
I don't really think.
Yes, down towards the bottom.
Oh, okay, so we're going down the same column.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
So
So
you
we had a
had,
negative of 7.
you had more expenditures and revenues by a negative $716,225.
700?
716,000. So, but you had monies coming in from other funds of $537,603. So, that means, as you look further down, that the general fund went down by $178,622. That is a loss.
Yeah.
You started with $7,096,681. There was some prior period adjustments that were made, which reduces it more, and you end up with $6,277,241 just for the general fund. So about $6.3 million for the general. Questions on the general fund?
Those of $6.3 million was what?
Okay,
That was what left as fund balance? or-
that is fund balance moving forward to 21.
Okay, but that was what we had prior.
Then 20.
Yeah.
19.
But the actual, our expenditures for that year was for how much?
716.
It was a negative, it was a loss.
Yeah, no, negative. Where were those, which departments created those 700 and some odd thousand dollars lost?
Podían haber sido grants.
Actually,
That's what we need to know.
Podían haber
See,
sido-
they're not coming in.
¿Por qué no? Por eso,
let's
500.
jump to that, let's jump to
Okay.
the answer on page 54. Let's go to page 54.
Because we're showing here, it's not a good year, I mean,
700.
And page 54 hopefully will answer that question for you.
hope
Now,
so. Pete,
Page 54,
hold on,
yes,
despacito, porque ya
yes
está.
sir, of course.
No jala la luz, la
No,
luz.
la luz corta. Entonces, y los números no mienten.
Right,
Okay. we
right
got
there
it.
on the left side, this is your budget versus action. This tells you a lot. In particular, the column on the right-hand side, column,
The variance
That is
final
the
was-
variances. Look at the very top. Look at what your revenues ended up short $1 million. There's part of your answer right there. When you look at fines, they were short 726,000. The very first one, your property taxes were short 264,000. So it's related to what you anticipated to earn, you didn't earn it. You were short $1 million.
Okay, let's go right there.
Yes, sir.
Based on our county audit, our county treasurer, we collected over what we had estimated.
But this is 2020.
I understand, pero ya estaba medida en el tiempo también. Todo el tiempo, every year, she has stated that we collected the 100% of what we projected.
Okay, and las fines, Judge? Why do you think you overprojected on that?
Okay, on the fines and forfeitures, and I have trouble remembering yesterday.
This is 2 years.
No, no,
2 years
I
ago is-
understand.
But I think, if I recall correctly, the fines and forfeitures, I had more money in the road and bridge for fines and forfeitures than I did in general, because that's where fines and forfeitures were normally posted. Since then, it changed. So I think if you look at road and bridge, we probably ended up
With a profit,
with a positive,
We had a
and it's
profit.
because of that,
200 and some thousand.
278,000.
yeah, on the fines and forfeitures.
200,000 over.
Yeah, and
Road and bridge, but we're still under 500,000.
No, espérate. Fueron 716,000 que salió corto el General Fund. Y luego entraron 537,000. Okay, so te quedan 200.
¿Qué fue lo de road and
Y
bridge?
lo que teníamos fueron 200 y pico. Y en Road and Bridge, we had a profit of 278. Nos quedaron $100,000 arriba. We were still
Yeah,
100,000 between both of us.
And if you recall what happened, the road and bridge has always been negative. So every budget year, what I do, I increase the road and bridge and to stay below the 8% so that we can start making more road and bridge. And this is the reason, it was by design that this happened.
I think in my experience, I've seen road and bridges typically are, struggling to stay in the black. They are trying to come out.
Yeah,
And they sometimes require assistance from the general fund.
yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're increasing the tax rate for road and bridge, lowering general so that the taxpayer pays the same amount.
Right. I think she wants to add.
And I think on the budget, I think we might include some of the transfers in there, which, in the budget,
They'll be in the bottom.
yes, but in this part, we have the transfer somewhere else, we have it at the bottom.
On page 55, what she's talking
Yes.
about, the
Okay.
transfers, on page 55, the very bottom, we have transfers in. You budgeted 897,000, in reality, you only brought in 537,000.
That's from the bridge, Judge.
The Road and Bridge?
That's from the transfer. The transfer.
Transfer from the bridge, yeah.
So that's why
Yeah,
it's off
yeah,
of maybe.
and that's when we were having trouble with the bridge and the jail,
Yes.
that we were less than, because of COVID, well, not COVID, really.
Sí, COVID, pero-
But
Yeah,
this is
the
2020,
instability in
That's how
Mexico,
we started.
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, at the end of the day, we were between both entities, government, General Fund and Road and Bridge, we were up 100,000, more or less. Más o menos, right?
Correct.
100,000 with.
Sí, porque the judge, con los 716, 220, bueno, General Fund, no judge, y minus the 537,603, traemos un balance de 178, por eso, pero en Road and Bridge we had a positive of 278, so quedaron 100,000 plus, nos quedó entre las dos.
Combined.
Combine both of them, yes, we had 100,000 up,
Surplus.
surplus, between both of them, so we did okay at 20, and that was COVID year, so I think we did okay.
Did I have rainy day fund on 2020?
Yes, it should be there.
I had a rain day, so that is also part of the budget.
Yes.
That's part of the surplus.
If that did not get expended, so
Right.
that helps.
Okay.
So, good.
Yeah, that's what
All right, let's go back to 17 then, so we can look at how the road and bridge ended up. So that's the second column, so at the very bottom of page 17, the second column, the road and bridge, that ends up with a negative 904,000, but you did start with a negative 1.1. And of course, with the increase of 278, so you've reduced that.
Okay.
And then all the other funds are 5.8. These are related to your grants and your all special revenues, so those really are controlled by your grantor agencies, so I had no plans to cover those in detail, so. Any other questions?
We came in with a positive of 100 and
Well,
some.
we started with a negative in general and road and bridge, I'm sorry. We started
Yes.
with a negative, ¿me
1.1.
entiendes? Como que era lo bajamos en negative.
And how much, 200?
Le bajamos 200 and some thousand, but at the end of the day, we came out okay with over 100
Right.
between both general and road and bridge. Y le bajamos un poquito la deuda del road and bridge.
So let's jump to page 21 and 22. So now we're going to talk about what happened to your, what we call proprietary funds, the bridge, the transfer station, the gas system, and of course your internal service, which I'll discuss shortly. On 21, you see the bridge, International Bridge. Had a small loss. Page 21, the negative 9,582. The transfer station loss, 108,775. Then the gas had a profit of 224,130. That's on page 22. So if you look at the far right-hand side, the 566,138, that's your internal service. So you started with a self-insurance, right? So initially that was embedded with the general fund. County principals say it's got to be reported separately. So we've done that. And that's what you're looking at here. So when you compare this to prior years, there's no comparison. Because this was the initial year that,
So then the 566
that's the profit that the
Remain with
insurance
it
fund.
from the self-funding
Right,
insurance.
That was the first year we started with self-funding, right?
How much we get?
Maybe 566.
On page 22, sir, you'll see the
Acá.
far right-hand side.
Yeah, we-
So now, all the other ones together, what we call enterprises, they ended with a net 105,773 profit
At the end of the day.
at the end of the day, at the end of the fiscal year. And it had a total of, it's called net position, fund balance and position, which however you want to call that, even net worth, you ended with 2,087,657 on page 22. We made some adjustments, 311,000, because part of this, it was a new accounting pronouncement that required the recognition of the retirement. And we brought that in, okay? That was a negative 311.
Okay, let me ask
Yes,
one question
yes.
on the gas enterprise fund. We had a debt from the gas to general fund. Was that reduced, that debt?
Would that
I
be
believe, Sammy, you all have been transferring monies?
dues and due funds or just transfers?
It's due to payroll, but it been reduced. I think
So-
as of today, it's, I think it's about 86, and it was up to a point to 500,000. And
So
been
we're
going
down to about 86,000?
Yes, as of like a couple of weeks back.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry.
No, no, go ahead. So anyway, in total, that's what this represents, so. The reason it's separate from the general fund is because these financial statements are on one basis of accounting. The general fund, road and bridge, all the other special revenues are on modified accrual. So, you know, I'm talking like an accountant, but the presentation are entirely different. But the bottom line, again, is like I indicated. $1.8 million for all your combined proprietary funds. The internal service ended with 849,855. That's your internal service. So moving forward to 21, we'll have to wait and see how that ended up. Let's go back to 20, just talking about internal service. Go back to 20. So you ended up with $849,000 of net position. You see it on page 20 again, it appears there. But if you look to the very top, look at cash for internal service, your insurance fund, $920,000. So in this case, the basis of accounting is close to cash accounting. you know, you can say it because the cash is 900,000, your net position is 849,000, so I just want to point that out. Any questions? So my plan here was just to cover this, you know, I mean, unless you want me to cover more, I will. The notes of the financial statements are part of the presentation, very helpful to a reader, it's helpful to your bond advisors, because when they go out and they rate you, they look at the notes as well. So that includes a description of your fixed assets, your bonded debt, and any other information we put in there. So, but again, I had no plans to cover that.
One question on
Yes.
the bridge.
Yes.
Well, I think that's probably later. Okay, no,
Okay.
no, I'll wait.
All right.
So, going back to what Commissioner Garza asked on the departments, which ones were in the red?
Okay. Page 54,
Big,
page
See,
55.
Victor,
54?
54.
quita.
Now, I understand that the presentation we have this year doesn't compare to last year's presentation. But we both agreed that this was adequate, county auditor and us. So that being said, look at the far right-hand column and you'll see the negatives and where they came in over budget.
Veterans was one, elections was another one, Victor another one. There's another.
County auditor, we
we
2,000.
were-
We have had that deal going on for, I don't know how many years. The county attorney has always come in negative with $80,000, and I'm pretty sure that's payroll.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see why was it never stopped that they had no funds and continue paying?
Do they
The-
have
the-
state funds?
Yeah, the reason,
Yes.
and
They
Commissioner,
have grants.
Separate from general
Or
fund.
they're in a special revenue?
Yes.
yeah, but see, the way it happens is that, and certainly not to throw our ex-county attorney under the bus, but he had no concept of budget number. In fact, one meeting we had here, he had some numbers that were, I mean, totally off, and I asked him, well, where'd you get these numbers? He said, no, I just got numbers. What do you mean, you know? He had absolutely, so, you know, and he had a bunch of grants, and he would say, well, the money's in transition, it'll be coming in, and apparently never did. And by the time we would catch it, the year was over. So that has been a problem, but you know, this new county attorney has been very, I mean, totally different. So, I don't think this will happen anymore.
You know, because, you know, it never, you know, and we never found out if they ever came in. If those money never came in, just, I mean,
No.
and, like I said, I don't know why, you know, why, either the personnel or those people continue paying when there was no funds, you know. And I don't know if the auditor has any control over that, you know,
No, it's Fed and State,
huh?
Fed and State.
Yeah, the thing is that they present you, this is how much
Pero
money
es lo que
will
se
be coming
encarga
in.
de todo esto.
Well,
Tienen que checar si tienen los grants, cuánto viene por grant, tienen que checar todo eso.
Sí, pero
Estos guys no.
Yeah, y luego que entre y no,
Que entre y luego
that's the other
que eso
thing.
checarían ellos.
If they don't make the request,
Sí, ellos no van a saber. So the ones in charge is Fed and State. I mean, personal, que chequen si tienen dinero o no. So we're gonna make a motion on this one, Your Honor, that means, you said it was what, it was a good?
Well, not yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
So I do want to address your earlier question. Why we were hired October 6th of 2021. October. So that's what, 9 months ago?
yeah.
So during our conversation, obviously, we started with what we call preliminary auditing, and that's just what we do to get started. But what's important is that we need your numbers.
Of course.
We need your numbers. Now, initially, the plan was to give them to us by the end of December. That didn't happen. So then come January, you know, we still didn't have it. And I was in constant communication with the former county auditor. We visited in person and, you know, he had a game plan and so, you know, we proceeded to do what we needed to do, but we stopped because we still needed numbers. In the meantime, this happened. The audit for 2019 had some material errors, if you will, so large that it required them, for our standards, to reissue the financial statements. In other words, they came in with 2019. It had significant errors. They were required by standards to reissue, which told us, well, we have to wait. So we need to know what to rely on from the prior year. Because understand this, we talked about fund balance earlier. The fund balance has to carry over to next year accurately. So when we receive this revised audit, the numbers were off again, the fund balances. So we had to go back with their help. And by the way, these people were great help. We had to start over to balance them again. Because at that point, we had received your numbers once, and I think we might have received them twice or even 3 times, which meant we got to start over on our end. And we did. So ultimately, we balanced them out. So in the process, we found that you had, again, combined your insurance fund into the general fund. You had the payroll in there as well, the fund balance. So we had discussions and we convinced them that the internal service must be separate. You don't want to have to spend money in the general fund that's related to insurance for everybody. I think it was important earlier to understand what's left in the insurance fund. You know, $900,000. If we had left it in there, you'd have no idea today. So it would have been with the total general fund. And again, accounting principles require it must be separate.
So
So we extracted.
2019, we had 900,000 left over from the insurance?
No, because you started this in
2020, so
Right.
2020 was the 900,000.
That's what you ended up with in cash. 850 with fund balance. So
But that's in a separate account.
that is in a separate fund.
No, separate fund, I'm
fund,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
This is called fund accounting,
Yeah.
grant accounting,
Okay.
so which
This is a separate
says-
fund that's not mixed in with the general fund.
That is correct.
Okay.
And then you had, in payroll, you had about, how much money was in there? I don't remember how much money in the payroll was part of your general fund last year. So it kind of misled you a little bit, thinking you had more than reality you did, because that part belongs to payroll. So now that we move forward, they're separate.
So now we have another fund for payroll only.
Only.
Insurance only, fund,
Yes,
payroll only.
general fund, right.
Let's go back to those $800,000 of the insurance, you said?
The fund balance.
I mean, if we were not self-funded, how did we have?
We worship.
That, at that
You
time?
were. That was the first
That's
year
when
you
empezamos
started.
in 2020.
Right.
We did good 2020.
Yeah, it was 1920, it was
Yeah.
the fiscal year
¿Cuándo
19.
comenzamos?
Yeah,
started.
I mean,
Este es el segundo año que no vamos bien. Este es el
yo
segundo año que no
entiendo,
vamos bien.
pero we have not, according to the records que nos ha dado ella, we have not got a shortfall that much. When we get 800,000, I mean,
Shortfall
no hemos
where?
salido tantos cortos de dinero, based on lo que está en Normandía.
Sí,
pues.
pero es que se corre de año a año.
Yo te entiendo.
I don't know if it does it overlap.
Okay,
I understand what he's saying.
I don't.
Hey, you got right 8,000, you know, and we
Okay.
have not fallen short that much to eat it up, you know, okay?
I'll explain what he's saying. He's saying we got a positive 920 in 2020 for our for our insurance ASO.
Right.
Okay. Well, right now we're showing that we're gonna not make it. We're gonna be probably in the negatives with our insurance. So that's what he's saying. Where are the 900s if they're not showing it?
And I know that we're going down, but we have not lost that much money to eat up those 800.
Now that's where he comes in. I don't know the answer to that.
But based on the information our insurance lady has given us, nunca hemos salido tanto de dinero.
Okay, well, what do you think?
Well, let me tell you what I first thought when I saw self-insurance. I said, oh man, self-insured. That is so risky to be self-insured because of what can happen as you move forward, because it's hard to, when you get the actuaries, as far as who's gonna get sick, who's gonna get a disease, what it's gonna cost, it's very difficult to project that. So I've seen it in the past with other counties where they were self-insured, they got out of it, they went to regular, insurance premiums, and they try to go back to self-insured. The question to your answer is, earlier I said that the fund balance was close to the cash balance. Go look at the cash balance. And that's, could be just a good indicator as to where your insurance fund is today. Because again, it's close to cash basis. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So go look at the cash balance in the insurance fund.
Yeah, the thing is, when Armandina gives us the report, she says, of course, she's having a running total, These are bills that are owed, this is money that comes, so, but what we have in the bank is probably more than what she reports does, because there's monies that need to be paid.
The claims, and plus we had a pandemic.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, that killed us,
Yeah.
pandemic killed
Right.
us,
Yeah. Do you have stop loss?
yes,
Yes, we do. 125.
Right.
yeah,
So that's fine. So we have to hurry up and catch up.
yeah, and that's what we're working on right now.
Okay. So in addition to everything, we had to wait. These 19 financial statements that were reissued, they were done May 31st. May 31st of this year.
You did it in a month?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah,
With
you know,
their help.
the frustration, Mr. Reyes, and I'm talking for
No,
my
yo sé,
part.
pero I'm not blaming him. That's why I want to know why.
My frustration with the previous auditor, Perez, and we had several discussions, was that Commissioner Garza said, when he addressed the court, he says, we're gonna have everything wrapped up by the end of November, and by the end of December, Mr. Hernandez will have the audit. When someone tells me something, I take it, that's it, Well, December comes around, audit wasn't done, wasn't even close. So I approached him and I said, what's happening? And he says, well, Judge, you need to understand that we had holidays, Christmas and New Year's and all this stuff. And I said, well, that's been happening for over 2,000 years. You didn't know we were gonna have Christmas? Come on, give me a break. And then, well, it'd probably be another couple of months, and then, and here we are, 6 months later, and now we get the audit. See, that's what upsets me, that when someone gives me a date, I expect it to be that date, not 6 months later. So I guess that's why I was so frustrated. And see, then the other thing is that it's not only that we're not getting an audit, we're losing state funding. And for a county like ours, that is disastrous. We live by state funding and federal funding.
No, because it's easy to blame him, to blame the other, and I want to hear from you,
Sure.
Because like I said, according to him, he was going to be ready. You said that you never got the numbers. And now we were blaming you. What happened, and you never got answers, And that's why I'm here to clarify whose fault was. And that's it, and we don't have
understand. I'm confident. When I was called, I asked, well, how did you get my number? And they said, well, somebody says you'll come in here and finish it real quick like you did for us. I said, yes, if you're ready. In my engagement, in my contract, I said, I'll get it done under the following assumptions. You got good internal controls and you're ready for audit. You weren't ready for audit. And then to add to it, the 2019 audit had to be redone. So just.
Now, Mr. Hernandez, excuse me for interrupting, but now that you've been working with us for
Right.
6, 8 months, whatever, you know how we operate, you know what we have, pretty much everything. What is your guesstimate of when we'll have our audit that is due tomorrow?
Sure.
When do you think we'll have it?
And I asked that question before today. We talked about it. And she's hopeful that in 3 months, my impression that we need to add 2 more months, just because, give ourselves a cushion. Because they've got daily activities they gotta do. They gotta pay bills, they gotta receive money, they gotta do their daily functions. And I know, and the first time I meet these two, but just working with them. I've been doing this for like 34 years. I'm very impressed with their knowledge. They can do it, but I don't think 3 months is ample.
So
Unless
by
you
the end of
provide
November,
resources. I'm sorry?
by the end of November, you're confident we can have it by then?
Judge, let's cross our fingers that, we don't encounter, any unexpected circumstances, which I really doubt because they've been on top of this. We've had a lot of discussions about, the internal service, insurance fund, the cemetery and the commissary account, et cetera, a lot of discussions.
And then what you're saying, that they're understaffed, that we need staff to do daily operation, and then another part of the staff
To focus on this.
Just focus on
To
the audit.
focus on this.
What would be a suggestion that you can let us know to help them?
Well, we need to ask them, because, she said 3 months. And-
Well, why don't we shoot for 3 months? And then if we're a month late, well, I guess we can live with that.
We're 2 months late,
Yeah,
We were,
but
late.
But I think we need to shoot for 3 months, because, see, that's to catch up again.
21.
Yeah,
We're gonna
and
be
now we
past
need to start
22
working to get 22 done by
Right.
June. So,
Actually, Judge, 22 realistically can be done by March of 23.
which will be in compliance for
If everything's
auditing,
caught
if
up,
everything's coming
if
smooth.
you're caught up. June is the drop dead date.
right,
9 months, you're in total
yeah.
non-compliance. Now, this audit, when your grantor agencies get it, they're gonna know already you're a high-risk auditee, which means this, which says that you're not going to not follow compliance, but you're likely not to follow it because of the circumstances. So, let me say that again. You're a high-risk auditee because they're gonna recognize that you may not, not meet deadlines, not follow regulations or required compliance, but you're likely to not
We
do that.
would be considered high risk to who?
You are high risk. We have determined that based on a formula.
To the external audit?
Yes,
Okay.
right. It's in here, you're a high risk auditee. The initial thing is when you don't submit this to what we call the Federal Clearinghouse
Yes.
by September, automatically high risk, because you're not in compliance
Right.
with timely filing.
And how can we take away the high risk, being in
Let-
compliance?
Let's get 21's audit done by no later than June of 23. And then we're hopeful by March of 23. So,
Hold on.
yes,
22.
22's audit.
22.
22's audit.
Ándale, 20,
Right,
ándale.
22.
So you wanna do 21 by what? Of this year, of this year?
That's what the plan is.
Yes, okay, but by when? By November of this year?
Well, I think if they say, in 3 months, I want your trial balances, but I want them balanced. I want your cash balance, I want everything balanced out. So they need to spend a lot of extra time.
How confident are you that we can get it in 3 or 4 months?
I would say October, November, yes, October, November this year.
Okay,
Oh,
don't remember
I
that
think- yeah.
6 months.
By him, with
Yes,
him?
with him, I think,
Okay.
yes.
You have everything, trial balances y todo ya?
Yes.
Más o menos.
And then we need, time to do what we're supposed to.
When would you have everything ready for him?
For him, May or June, I would say maybe
September?
late August, September. That's my estimation.
So I'm gonna say October, because we have, we audit 16 schools. So we'll have to fit you in, but we'll work you in. I don't have any,
And also we have to put the budget in also because it's October.
That's right.
Start, so that's
Yeah.
another
that's what I
little,
said earlier.
yeah, that's little things we have to do.
Right. That's why when she said 3 months, I said, well, let's give them 2 more months. And I was talking to my staff about doing it.
No, our goal is for October, I thought we talked in October because if we finish it by October or close to October, that's 3 audits in a year. So that's pretty good. 3 audits in a year is pretty good. We're trending in the right direction. Yeah, we're kind of stale, just 1 audit a year, so.
Yeah, see, but the trending is good, but that doesn't help me
Yeah.
with funding. You know, the courthouse funding, all that, you know, they won't move on it until we have, this year, that will finish tomorrow, we have that audit. So that means I cannot ask for any funding until November. So,
Let me ask you one question, and that's for you guys. We had already, we passed that motion that Commissioner Peña passed on. I think that your employees that were there calling on a daily basis, you know, get 3 quotes, get this, get that. They don't have to mess around with that. Wouldn't that speed up the auditing that you all have?
That's kind of separate, that's accounts payable, but it does eventually, since it was a part of the policy, that's something that it's looked at when it's being
What do you
audited.
look at?
And it still hasn't been changed, the policy. It's already approved, it hasn't been actually submitted, right, policy? Or has it?
The adopted county policy, it
Yeah,
hasn't
what
been revised.
For purchasing
We haven't received a revised copy of that one.
I think the county attorney is working on it right now.
Quotations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
How
quotes.
this is the perfect person to talk
I think
to.
it's for the informal procurement.
Yeah,
Is
you
it
have to
informal?
do that.
We don't have to do that.
No, you have to do that. You have to get bids on anything over 50,000.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the formal.
Yeah.
But we got an informal of 5,000. We have to get quotes for, if we're gonna purchase anything over 5,000, we have to get 3 quotes. What for?
I mean,
The
that's
formal,
what
the
the-
good one,
Follow state law.
Yeah, but the
the
statute states,
50,000.
the statute says 50,000 and under, you don't have to ask quote, you don't for that, you just go purchase. They here, they wanted to, they have
Is
3
that your
quotes,
policy?
That's the policy.
They had that part.
It
Well-
was in the county policy.
Yeah,
That is-
so.
I don't
But I don't remember that one.
I don't even remember having that
You're not
policy.
following
I
your
don't
policy.
remember, but it's
Exactly.
in the policy.
See,
So change the policy.
we already did change the
Well,
policy.
technically, it hasn't been updated, the policy. You need to update it first.
The county attorney's doing it right
Okay,
now,
perfect.
and.
Until it's done, pues, it's
Yeah, it'll be
done.
presented at the next commissioner's
Oh,
court
perfect.
meeting, and, yeah.
But it's already passed, so, I mean, you know, I mean, it was ridiculous. They were asking for that gentleman there to go ask for quotes on a PVC, you know,
99 cents.
and, you know, couple.
But everything was over 5,000.
Well, you got 89 cents, went to quotes, I mean, because some mentor up there was giving him the instructions.
They have it.
It was actually a finding back in 2012, that's why it came into policy.
So, yeah, we'll just get that cleared out and you guys are gonna have more time to concentrate on this, so we'll be okay.
Okay, I guess, anything else you have?
Well, just to make sure before I walk out of here that, you know, you want to see me back in November, December, but I need.
Yeah, I think we have a 2-year contract with you,
Right.
so, yeah.
No, what I mean is, you're hopeful that I return by November, December
Well,
with
we're
another
hopeful
book.
We're gonna
that
be
you're here
hopeful.
by,
Yeah.
we're hopeful that you're here before October. But,
I mean, sorry, I think my suggestion, and you know, if you're not getting what you need to get this thing going, you need to contact the judge,
yeah.
so the judge can contact the district judges that his personnel are not compliant with what you need to
Yeah,
get this
and
done.
I think that's part of the problem that we had. This is the first time I talked to you, this is the first time I meet you. You know, if we were having trouble getting this stuff, you know, I'm available all the time. Call my office and, you know, and I'll see what I can do to help, to get whatever information's
You know,
needed.
and the attitude that people there in that office would say out there, we don't work for the commissioner's court, we work for the district judges. They're appointed, yes, but they got a duty to do to get this commissioner's court going. And and I spoke to both district judges, and they realized that it's true, is that they're your county employees too. They're not only the district judges' employees. So, you know, if you have problem, call the judge. And or call the district judges. I said, look, your office out there is not complying for what we need, because we need this thing to get it done.
Well, I just want to say this, that working with these two, you know, since she took over, it was a totally different attitude and concern. And you know what I said to my staff, because yesterday she found a small typo, and I said, man, Letty is so meticulous. I said, I like that. And I told her, I said, thank you for spending so much time on the fine tuning of the report. But, you know, they're, I think, very competent people, because we're required to look at the level of skill. If I thought they didn't have the skill, I would have to walk away from this audit until I saw you had skill.
Well, that's what it may be, like I said, we don't know, but something was going on because you weren't getting the information. I mean,
Well,
somebody was either putting a stop to it, or, I don't know, they should know, because
Well,
they
you
were,
have-
it was not getting there,
You
you know.
have to remember the last audit, you know, they showed up without even giving you an opportunity to review it on that same day. Had they done that before, and I don't mean to talk bad about it, because maybe they were under a deadline, it would not have gotten reissued. That reissuance put us to a dead stop. We just came to a halt for our standards. So that really had a big delay as well, so.
Any significant findings that you want to bring up to us?
Well, pretty much what I've talked about, but they're written down in the back, page 94, page 94. So like on the first one, this just talks about the general ledger, the condition of the ledger, where, you know, you see the bullets right there. Those are the findings, you know. So when you see a finding like this, that means we spend extra time to analyze this, to correct it. Then you see the second one for compensated absences, and then here the third one, where it talks about the insurance fund. The International Bridge was not updated from the fee accountants, which says this. They gave you their financial statements, but they had adjustments, and they hadn't booked them. Until she got her hands on it, she booked them, she updated them. All of this is a delay. We took out the vending machine account and the memorial cemetery account out of the general. Take it out of there. Those are special revenue funds. And then the payroll, that was what I was talking about. It had $33,000 in fund balance in your general fund. Well, that's not general fund balance.
Correct.
That's related to payroll. Let's take it out. We took it out
So this is pretty much what you covered at the
earlier,
beginning.
right?
You see any problems correcting or adjusting any of those findings?
For this coming audit, or for which one? No, now that we know about it, we're
Yeah.
gonna concentrate, focus on it.
We spent a lot of time, Judge, with them, making sure they agreed and they provided.
And findings are okay. I mean, we're not perfect, and I don't think anyone is, you know, so we're certainly gonna get findings as long as we don't keep getting them over and over again, the same findings.
I would encourage more internal auditing, but
Yeah.
you don't have time.
Yeah, and you know, I've, since Ms. Guerra was our auditor, I've been asking for that, and we've been on record several times, that if additional personnel, you know, it's always good to have the fear that Big Brother's watching. I think that keeps people out of trouble,
I agree.
but we've never had that, you know, so.
I didn't put that in writing, Judge, that I'm telling you that you need to have internal auditing, but,
Yes.
you know, these are just recommendations we've made.
Yeah, and hopefully we will, once we catch up with our audits and
Right.
give them a little more free
And
time.
what I'm asking for is gonna cost you,
Yeah.
because you need another person to do internal audits.
Yeah. Well, it might cost us, but it might, you know, we've had several investments, I'll go ahead and call it.
I saw that in the prior year.
Yeah, so, you know, if we can save that, I mean, we're ahead.
And just let me say this, that we're here to do a financial audit. You know, as part of internal control, we didn't give an opinion on internal control. We just look at internal control in the process of creating the financials. But there's other counties or cities that have hired CPAs to do an internal control audit. But the best thing to do is get an internal auditor to start doing internal audits, reporting to the commissioner's court the findings. You know, looking at cash counts, looking at inventories, et cetera, reporting to you the findings to improve, so. But it's gonna take time.
Sure. Any questions?
I talked to Mike, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You
No,
want
no
us
worries.
to go ahead and approve this and take one at a time, or approve all of them? Well, I think they're independent.
I think they're separate statements.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report for the general fund as presented, or for,
Agenda item number 4.
I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Agenda item number 4, motion to approve, Your Honor.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next thing we had was for the international bridge.
On this one, page 4, and again, the auditor's opinion is unmodified. That's a clean opinion. So now this one, again, is called Statement of Revenues, Expenses, and Changes in Fund Net Position. In a business sense, this is your income statement, because it's under full accrual account. Full accrual means that the same basis as your for-profit corporations use at full accrual. So that's this basis of.
What does accrual mean?
Full accrual accounting versus what we talked about earlier, modified accrual. It's a different basis of accounting. So it's treated differently, and it has more accounting principles really applied to it, like fixed assets, accrued wages, accrued payroll, depreciation as well. So it's a different basis of accounting. So on page 4, I just want to discuss the very bottom, the change in net position. It increased $224,130. You started with a negative $294,000. We had a prior period related to pension, so now you're at negative $197. So it did improve a little bit.
You're on which page?
Page 4. And this is the gas system.
Ah, okay, you're in the gas.
No.
Now we're doing the bridge.
What did y'all put in the water?
Busque los números.
I'm sorry.
Que pues quisieron.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Huh?
Ya dijimos que no son las
Sí, para el
Estamos
bridge.
en cuenta.
You didn't miss anything, Commissioner. We're going to start.
Ah, man.
I got a question for you. And I don't know, Judge, it's appropriate to ask you or not, but those special accounts that were they audited on him or not?
Tell me.
Those are the accounts that were separate in the
Oh.
bank?
Yeah, I don't think that's part of the audit.
Okay.
What it is some accounts that, we're doing a forensic audit on one of our departments, the county attorney's office. Because there were accounts that were kinda in question.
But that won't fall into, no, entonces ya está bueno.
Yeah. So,
How far back do they go? Who's the auditor?
well,
Why?
we have an external auditor, because I believe, the court believes that some of those funds should have gone to the general fund, and they were not getting to the general fund. So we want to know what happened, where that money went.
It's still in process.
I'm sorry, that it's still in, yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, everything went to the county auditor's office, no? All those things, those accounts went to the auditor's office or not?
Well, that's the problem. He had some that were not being audited by our people. Because he had,
Which ones are they?
No, we picked all of them that we brought, they brought.
Because at
we
one time-
included it. And the problem is, the way he got the money, or how does it contribute, they presented the books to us, and everything looked okay, but the internal, I think that's why they were asking, probably got a forensic audit for that.
Yeah.
And to check each penny, where they come from, that's,
Yeah,
that's kind of,
So, I mean, when you say forensic, it's more like just a more in-depth audit.
Yes.
And not
Yes.
necessarily because of irregularities or fraudulent activities.
well, we don't know. We don't
No,
know. See, that's what we want to determine. We feel some of the money was going into areas that it should not have.
Right.
That some of those monies belong to general fund,
I see.
and that we're not
So
getting.
just classification, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in my agreement and in the representation letter, you had a responsibility to tell me
Yeah.
if you even suspected of that.
No, that's not a theft.
No, no.
That's between the departments. At the end of the day, it's under the county. It's under the county.
It's just where it went that we have a
Alright.
question.
I want to clarify that.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, nothing like that.
All right, okay. All right, so let's look at the bridge, right?
Yes.
That's right, page 4.
Okay.
The very bottom, the change in net position is a negative 9,582. And you started with 2,437,867. There was a prior period adjustment, reducing that by 179. So you ended with $2,249,005. And this is again your income statement again, if you will. Any questions on that?
Yeah, the 179 negative, was that, I'm hoping it was part of the payment to the city of Roma?
Page 4.
Page 4, and the
Page four.
bridge. Was that part of the payment to Roma? Because we should have overpaid Roma.
You overpaid them?
Well, I was hoping to.
Okay.
However, 2020, we might not have.
Not a point.
Not,
No,
it's
no,
really different.
no.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
But let me
Yeah.
answer your question.
Okay.
That amount on page 24,
Uh-huh.
it's
24?
detailed, page 24.
Okay,
So here's what happens. This adjustment was made to the prior year financial statements. So these weren't done in 2019,
okay,
and it should have affected the fund balance or the net position in 19.
okay.
So we corrected it, and we're showing you on page 4 what should have happened to it.
Okay.
It should have gone down 179
Yeah, so-
last
so-
year.
So this adjustment was not that we lost
No.
20, it was prior.
Prior
years.
year, we're just further reducing it because
Okay.
it was incorrectly reported in 19. And that's what page
Yeah,
24
and
says.
that makes sense, because 18, 19, that's when the instability in Mexico started, and we were having, I mean, people were just not going across.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you ended with $2.2 million. Any questions?
That 2.2, is that sort of like a fund balance?
Net position,
Okay.
go to page 3 and I'll explain what it's consisting of. So there you see it again at the bottom of page 3.
Yeah.
So it's not going to relate to cash, because at the very top you see cash of 110,615. It relates more to the non-current assets, 2,973,000.
Real estate and stuff like that.
I'm sorry?
Real estate and equipment.
Your
and-
fixed assets, your investment in long-term assets. So there it is, there is your fund balance or your net worth in here, the majority of it. But from that, you have other liabilities down in the middle. Current liabilities, 778,000. Here's the pension that was never recognized, we brought it in, 99,000. So total liabilities of 877. Again, another related liability on the pension. So the net is again 2,240,000. So the bulk is in your fixed assets, which means all the assets bought and over the life they've been depreciated. So there's your bulk of the $2.2 million. Any questions?
Any substantial findings?
I wouldn't really call them substantial because they go hand in hand with what happened at the county, but there are some on page 32. And again, because it's all in one big universe, they still experience some findings. But it's just going to
It's pretty
flow
much
over.
the same.
They kind of
same-
overlap.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bridge report.
Motion to approve, Your Honor. Second.
Moving second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That moves us to the gas, item 6.
Okay, so I don't know if I said the opinion on both of these, it's unmodified, so they're both clean. So on the gas, again, page 4. Page 4 at the very bottom, change in net position is a plus 224,130. You started with a negative 294. There's a prior period adjustment that reduces it by 126,000. So it ended with 197,000 negative. So it continues to be negative.
Okay, and I guess this was part of the debt,
Yes,
Sam?
that's why in page 3, probably,
I'm sorry?
probably the liability, that's why it's,
If you go to page 3, again, you can see what's making up this negative 197. Because page 3 is the statement of net position. But this is your balance sheet. This is your balance sheet. So you ended with a negative 197,463 on page 3. Look at the very top. You have
The unrestricted, that's how much is the debt?
no.
Or what's unrestricted?
That's what would be available, discretionary to you if it was positive. Because of the 197, if you look at the 84,618,
Uh-huh.
that represents the net of the capital assets, the fixed assets, minus any related debt. So that's what's available. The negative 282 says that you have more liabilities than you have assets as it relates to the gas system.
Okay, on the liability, I guess what I'm looking at, where's the amount that shows our debt to general fund?
that's probably combined, Judge,
That's
with
due to other funds, right in the middle, Judge, under
Oh, yeah, I see it.
liabilities, due to other funds,
300,000?
$315,059.
That's how much we owed in
But
20?
it's combined with accounts payable and I can't remember other stuff there involved. The actual amount I need to look into the numbers.
Well, that would be the due to other
It's
funds.
for the general fund and payroll together.
Yes, and any,
If there's any-
account, yeah. Sorry.
Any like internal, like county funds, any other funds due to,
Okay, but can you tell us what is debt to general fund?
yes, we can look it up.
But it's not in this report. And
You
that's
might-
okay, I think you all said we owe about 80,000.
Yes,
Currently,
80,
yes.
currently is 86,
89.
Well, it's gotta be in here, part of the 300,000, and you know.
Yeah, it's probably 300,000. I've been reducing it little by little, not the whole thing, because I want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
operate the gas.
Okay. That's the only, well, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Really, that's all I had to talk about this, unless you have other questions.
So in a nutshell, 2020, how were we? Mediocre?
Well, I mean, financially, you know, your general fund, from what I remember, was positive. so-
Yeah, 100 and some thousand.
Well, no, the million, you had, you had like
$111,000.
$6-7 million in the general fund, so.
Yeah, I
That's
think
combined.
this was probably the worst year we've had.
Yeah, and it's still not terribly bad, you know, considering it's $6.3 million. Fund balance.
Yeah, but we need to be, in order to have 90-day liquidity,
Right.
we need to be somewhere around, maybe around 12, 13 million.
That was the first question I was gonna ask, how are we at financials, the county,
Yeah.
our fund balance?
I mean, 2020, you know, I'm good with it. I wish it could have been better. I think 21 is gonna be a lot better. But, see, we were just coming out of an era that we had to go borrow money to meet payroll at the end of the year. I mean, we were that bad. A lot of things happened, bridge, the jail, I mean, a lot of things were happening. So I expected 2020 to be still in the red. I'm glad we're not.
It's not terribly bad, Judge,
Yeah.
considering, I mean, you know, the
But
revenues were short.
21 should be good, 20,
Oh,
and
yeah,
this
much
year
better.
should be a lot better.
You were facing that pandemic, and even then,
Yeah,
you know, so,
yeah.
$7 million, you know, certainly could be worse if you had anything.
We have been in worse situations before.
Yeah, yeah,
Let me say this, the opinion, you know, would have been different had I been a big negative, been a going concern. So, which means that in our eyes, we would have doubt that you would be able to continue during the next current year. But
yeah.
hindsight being 2020, you survived 2021.
Yeah,
This is
2021, I'm very, well, I'm optimistically hopeful that we're gonna do a lot better than this, you know. And then the year, this year, that we'll be closing up with the rescue plan, that's even gonna make us look even better. But we'll see. We'll get to that bridge. at some point. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can you take a vote on item 6?
Yeah. Any other questions? If there's not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the audit for the gas as presented.
I second, Your Honor.
Moved in second, discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn, or anything else, Mr. Anderson? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Moved in second, all in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Mr. Hernandez, thank you so much, and we hope to see you in October.
We'll be here.
I'm like, okay, but if you ain't getting what you need,
Let us know.
I don't know, because
Yeah, if, you know, if you need my help, call me, you know.
I really, honest to God, I think